Welcome everyone to Round Trip Death. Today we're thrilled to have a special guest joining us from Denver, Colorado. Before we dive into the conversation, let me share a bit of background about Rebecca, our guest. It feels like every week we introduce a story that's far from ordinary, and that's because no near-death experience, or NDE, is ever typical. Rebecca's story is particularly unique, spanning a remarkable 2 years. Some might find that hard to believe, but there's an explanation coming. There's also a bit of a gray area when it comes to defining these experiences, whether you call them NDEs, spiritually transformative experiences, STEs, or something else entirely. For now, we'll avoid strict definitions and let the listeners interpret Rebecca's journey for themselves. One thing is certain, you're going to find Rebecca's story captivating. So, let's welcome her to the show. Thank you so much for having her, Eric. Rebecca sends a warm hello to all the viewers out there. Before getting into the heart of her story, let's take a moment for the audience to get to know Rebecca a little better. Rebecca leads a grounded, everyday life as a speech-language pathologist, working with children. She's a mother to a daughter and resides in Colorado, though she originally hails from New Orleans. Between the ages of 26 and 28, Rebecca underwent a profound 2-year-long near-death-like, or spiritually transformative experience that changed her life. Since Rebecca has brought it up, let's not delay and dive straight into what led to this extraordinary event. At the time, Rebecca was dealing with the aftermath of a deep trauma. While she didn't physically die as in a traditional near-death experience, at the tender age of 13, she endured a traumatic event that felt like a spiritual death. To provide some context, Rebecca was assaulted while staying at a friend's house. She woke up in the middle of the assault, an experience that was deeply distressing. Following this, Rebecca spent considerable time in therapy, striving to maintain an image of perfection on the outside, being a great student, a kind person, and part of a good family. However, inside, the trauma was consuming her. Despite her therapists in college and beyond assuring her that she was fine and no longer needed therapy, Rebecca knew deep down that she wasn't fully healed. This lingering pain and the desire to heal completely became the driving force behind her journey. We express our heartfelt sorrow for what Rebecca went through, and it's important to note that she doesn't have to answer any questions she's uncomfortable with. Rebecca has shared that while some may not want to hear about such experiences, others find value in her story, and she has come to a place of openness because she believes it helps people. Now, connecting this early trauma to the experience that began when Rebecca was 26, it's clear there was a significant buildup. From the ages of 23 to 26, Rebecca made a conscious decision to heal completely. She recalls declaring at 23 that her life's goal was to heal fully. She sought ways to reconnect with her heart, feeling as though something heavy was weighing on it after the trauma, despite assurances from therapists that she was okay. Rebecca still felt there was more healing to be done, describing it as a barrier over her heart that she longed to break through. In her efforts to heal, Rebecca began writing in a journal addressed to God. She would pen entries starting with "Dear God," reflecting on her life. Then, one night at the age of 26, while in graduate school, something extraordinary happened. Spontaneously, Rebecca wrote a pledge in her journal, dedicating her life to God. She wrote, "Dear God, I have decided to give my life to you and whatever that entails. I want to be guided by you by the light. This is my pledge. I will work hard to follow this path and bring it to fruition. Please help me do this. Please help me bring light to other people. Thank you. Amen." She wrote these words out of nowhere, tears streaming down her face. Rebecca has since memorized this passage because she shares it often, but at that moment, it was a raw, overwhelming urge to surrender her life to a higher power. This act marked the beginning of her 2-year-long spiritual journey. Before this pivotal moment, Rebecca's religious background was diverse. Coming from an interfaith family, she was raised Jewish, though her mother converted to Judaism from a lineage of Methodist ministers spanning 200 years. Interestingly, when Rebecca shared her story with relatives on her mother's side, they weren't surprised, saying such experiences were common in their family. So, there seems to be a familial thread of spiritual encounters. Rebecca identifies as interfaith, blending Jewish and Christian influences. It's worth mentioning that discussions about faith, especially on platforms like YouTube, can sometimes draw criticism. Some viewers might assume there's an agenda to push a specific belief system, like Christianity. However, this show isn't about promoting any particular faith. It's a safe space to hear people's stories, regardless of their background or beliefs. So let's continue with Rebecca's journey. Adding to her interfaith identity, Rebecca also had an indigenous stepfather in her 20s, further enriching her spiritual perspective. When she wrote that spontaneous prayer dedicating her life to God, it wasn't premeditated, it just flowed out of her. Naturally, this raises many questions, but it was indeed a heartfelt prayer. After writing it, Rebecca didn't dwell on it much, and prepared for bed. As she was about to fall asleep that night, something remarkable happened. A white light appeared, moving from one end of her room to directly above her bed. This wasn't an ordinary light. It felt as though it could peer into her heart and soul. Rebecca was terrified, feeling exposed, as she was still hiding parts of herself. She tensed up and pleaded with the light, saying, "Go away. I'm scared. Go away. I'm scared." She didn't understand what this presence was. Then, after voicing her fear, a tingling sensation began at the top of her head, spreading downward. It was a loving, peaceful feeling, almost like a loving headache. Rebecca thought to herself, "This is a strange headache," as it carried a sense of warmth and calm. The sensation grew stronger, and though her boyfriend at the time was asleep beside her, she considered waking him to ask if he felt it too. Instead, she relaxed into the feeling. Then, a voice entered her mind, so loving and gentle, saying, "You don't have to be afraid, but if you are, you can wear a hat." In her mind's eye, she saw a graduation hat, which she found unattractive. Playfully, she responded to the voice, suggesting other hats because she didn't like the one shown. At the time, Rebecca didn't grasp what was happening. Looking back, as a graduate student at Columbia University Teachers College, she believes the message was that she could wear the hat of a student and persevere through the spiritual experiences that would unfold over the next 2 years. Initially, she was utterly confused by the event. To understand more about this light, it wasn't the entire room illuminated, but rather a focus light, perhaps about the size of a small orb, moving from one side of the room to directly over her. Rebecca suspects that with better spiritual vision, it might have appeared larger or even as an angelic figure. Unlike a regular room light, this one felt personal, as if it was looking into her very essence, which frightened her because she wasn't ready to be seen so deeply. Others have described seeing spheres of light in various colors, sometimes connected to deceased loved ones. Rebecca confirmed the light was round, though she didn't document every detail at the time, fearing she was losing her mind. She recalls it might have wavered as it moved over her, but the emotional impact was stronger than the visual. It felt like her soul was being met, beyond the surface personality she presented to the world. This deep connection was both terrifying and profound. When asked why the light felt like it had a personality, Rebecca explained it carried a loving presence. She hesitates to label it as God directly, unsure if God appears as a light in people's rooms, but that's how she recorded it in her journal. The light was kind, intense, and seemed to see her completely. Rebecca believes her fear stemmed from her personality's resistance to being fully seen. Like many, she had grown accustomed to hiding her true self, especially after her trauma and societal pressures. Being exposed in such a raw way was daunting. As for the headache, Rebecca described it as a tingling sensation that began after her initial fear of the light. It felt like the light moved to her head, creating a strong, loving, and peaceful feeling, almost like a massage of love on the top of her head. She found it odd but beautiful, though she later wished she hadn't resisted the light or spoken back to the voice. Her soul seemed ready for the commitment she made in her journal, but her personality was caught off guard, questioning what she had just done. The light, however, didn't seem offended by her reaction. When she criticized the hat choice, the voice paused, not out of anger, but as if recognizing she wasn't ready for more. Rebecca wonders what might have happened if she had simply accepted the hat and continued listening. The next morning, after going to bed puzzled by the night's events, Rebecca woke up still unsure of what had transpired. As she walked to class, something incredible unfolded. She began seeing a beautiful, ethereal white light emanating from everyone she passed. It was as if every person was an angel. Before this, due to her trauma, Rebecca often perceived others as angry or threatening. Now, she saw beauty and light in everyone, not just colorful auras, but a pure white light revealing their souls. She felt an overwhelming love for everyone around her. Naturally, this made her question her sanity once again. Soon after, Rebecca started experiencing psychic dreams, a phenomenon that began at first week and has continued to this day. These weren't part of her upbringing, as her parents, a PhD psychologist mother and an MD father with a PhD in biochemistry, focused on analyzing dreams logically, not psychically. Examples include dreaming of a car accident 5 days before it happened, or dreaming of carbon monoxide poisoning, and then surviving it that same week. She also dreamt of friends sharing information that they later repeated in real life. These experiences were new and consistent, leaving Rebecca in awe, often realizing mid-event that she had dreamt it beforehand. While these psychic dreams and perceptions of light in others have persisted, the intense 2-year window of Rebecca's spiritual experience had a distinct beginning and end. During those 2 years, other remarkable things happened. Rebecca felt the strong presence of angels around her, like loving entities close by. She also experienced an alternate timeline of her life and had a spontaneous life review, feeling in her body how her actions impacted others. The ending of this period, however, was both the most beautiful and the hardest part for her. Throughout those 2 years, Rebecca sensed that when the experiences concluded, she might either continue in this heightened state for life or leave this world, perhaps to heaven. She wasn't sure what to expect. The culmination came one night in her room, when she conversed with a glowing, beautiful being. Her room was filled with light as she expressed her struggles, saying life was hard and she didn't understand her purpose, despite the spiritual beauty she was experiencing. The being looked at her with immense love, light shining from his eyes and heart, reassuring her that life was amazing. He encouraged her to embrace adventures, to live a great life, and to see being alive as a precious gift. In that moment, Rebecca thought this being might be a romantic partner, asking his name and when they would meet. He replied, "My name is Jonathan, and you can meet me when you finish swimming." There was no judgment in his response, despite her assumption. For a long time, Rebecca believed he was a real person she'd meet, but she now thinks he was an angel, given the intense glow not typical of humans. The dream then shifted from her room to a scene on a large ship at night. She was lowered into the ocean and had to swim alone into the dark waters. When she awoke the next morning, all the light she had felt all the angelic presences were gone. It was a gut-wrenching loss, leaving her confused and feeling abandoned by God. This plunged Rebecca into a deep depression for several years, struggling to understand why the light vanished after being so vivid. This loss was incredibly tough for Rebecca. She retreated to live in the woods, though her family was nearby. Friends and family noted she struggled to communicate or process the experience for a long time. It wasn't until the year 2023, 15 years after the experience ended in 2008, that Rebecca began openly talking about it. Initially, she desperately tried to recapture the light, searching for it in nature and questioning if she had imagined it all. Yet, the ongoing psychic dreams and moments of guidance through prayer reassured her it was real. It took those 15 years to fully accept and integrate what had happened. During those 2 years, feeling angels around her was a source of immense comfort for Rebecca. She described it as having a team of helpers, guiding her with subtle nudges about what to do. They felt like beings of light standing beside her, sometimes tall figures on either shoulder, but always with a deep, heartfelt connection. Over time, as she accepted the reality of her experience, Rebecca learned to reconnect with these presences during personal sessions, feeling their guidance even if they weren't as constant as before. Another unique aspect was Rebecca's spontaneous life review, unlike typical NDEs, where such reviews often occur during a moment of clinical death. For Rebecca, it happened while speaking with her sister on the phone. After unintentionally hurting her sister's feelings over something important, Rebecca suddenly felt her sister's pain within her own body. It was a profound realization of how her actions affected others, leaving her devastated. This extended to sensing the impact of her kindness or lack thereof on others, feeling it in her spirit and body. From this, Rebecca learned the importance of kindness, forgiveness, and recognizing the divine light in everyone, treating each person as a beautiful soul. Though she admits she doesn't always live up to this ideal, especially when overwhelmed, she strives to make amends even for internal grumpiness others might not notice. This entire experience profoundly changed Rebecca's life. Right after, she shifted her career to work with children, particularly those with high needs, despite not having planned for this path. Previously focused on research, she felt compelled to follow what she calls her soul's blueprint. Now, if she sees someone suffering, Rebecca can't ignore it. She must help. She continues to see light in people, which sometimes made dating challenging during her spiritual peak, as she felt love for everyone due to their glowing essence. To stay connected to the love she felt, Rebecca actively nurtures it daily, feeling lost without this practice. Like many near-death experiencers, she also relates to the longing to leave this world, yearning for the constant presence of the light she once saw. Though it faded, she hopes it returns for everyone to experience. Adjusting after such an experience wasn't easy for Rebecca. Like many who returned from NDEs, she faced challenges reintegrating, often leading to depression or major life changes. Divorce rates and career shifts are common among experiencers, and Rebecca had to navigate her way through this over many years. Her indigenous stepfather, who came from a medicine tradition but lived outwardly as a Marine and engineer, played a crucial role. As her spiritual experiences began, he started having dreams about her, validating her journey. He wrote letters guiding her on walking a path connected to the Creator, which was immensely helpful. Reflecting on Jonathan, the glowing being from her dream, Rebecca once hoped he was a real person she'd meet after finishing swimming. For years she waited, weekly, monthly, yearly, until she concluded he was likely an angelic being, full of unparalleled light and love. The symbolism of the ship, the ocean, and swimming at night with no shore in sight suggests to her that it represents living a spiritual life in the physical world. Initially, She felt like she was drowning, wanting to escape, but now she sees it as her life's ongoing journey. Perhaps Jonathan is an angel she'll meet at life's end. She's not sure. Rebecca's story offers hope to those struggling. She acknowledges life isn't guaranteed to be easy and expresses empathy for anyone suffering. From her experience, she firmly believes prayers are heard, that each person is deeply loved and cared for, and that reaching out can connect one to that individual love as a beautiful soul. She encourages not giving up, to pray or call out to the Creator, affirming that love is present. Regarding what comes after this life, Rebecca hopes there's something beautiful to look forward to, ideally bringing that light here without needing to leave the planet. Lastly, Rebecca recently wrote a book titled Daily Moments with the Angels, featuring 365 angel messages she channeled. Part of reconnecting with her experience involved writing prayers and receiving answers, which she shares daily on Instagram and Facebook, Monday through Friday. The book includes monthly reflection pages and resonates with others who have had spiritual or near-death experiences, reminding them of similar feelings. She's passionate about bringing that frequency through her writing. Thank you for listening and sharing this podcast. Don't forget to hit the follow or subscribe button. Until next time, we wish you everything good that you're looking for in this life and the next.